May have narrowly missed out on a win on home soil at Suzuka, but he bounced back to a definitive first win of the season at Brands Hatch. Sticking around on British soil, our drivers leave the elevation changes of Kent and trade it for the flat, open fields of Snetterton. Will it see Courtiniemi be able to fight back? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch Round 4 of the Lotus 49 Grand Prix Legend Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Christian Challoner. Behind the scenes is our director, Robert O'Brien, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Snetterton is one of many club-level tracks that dot the British landscape. Let's head to our track guide to find out a little bit more about it. Welcome to Snetterton Circuit. Like many British tracks that were born shortly after World War II, this venue was made out of an old military airfield. It's a mere 30 minutes drive from Norwich and offers up 3 different layouts of varying lengths. This means the track is easily able to host international, regional, and club-level racing. Previously rather simple, the circuit's most recent update in 2011 introduced a twisty infield section. Still, it's mainly punctuated by 2 very long straights, the Senna Straight, where the pits are located, and the Bentley Straight, which acts as the backstretch. As you'd expect for a track born out of an airfield, there's little in the way of elevation change. However, the one spot in which you do find some undulation, it really stands out. The bomb hole dips cars down in the middle of a quick right-hand kink, causing them to have to keep a heads up lest they lose the car. The track is not without character, though. Rich's is very swift for a first turn and includes 2 distinct apexes. There's also the combination of Brundle and Nelson, which forces drivers to turn hard while braking. Never an easy combination to manage. The long sweeping run through Coram down into Maurice can also be quite tricky. The car will want to drift out, forcing a shallow entry into the final left-hander. But failing to give yourself a good exit will leave you vulnerable to attack down the pit straight. Perhaps not as famous as some other British circuits, this place is a bit of a hidden gem in the UK motorsport scene. Fans who get to witness racing here certainly seem likely to return. Well, I know when I first ran on this track when it came to iRacing, I was kind of pleasantly surprised, and it sounds like you had a similar experience with the 49 here, Christian.
Yeah, absolutely. I was definitely very skeptical when they sent me the schedule for this and had to make the setup for it. But yeah, it's a surprisingly good track in this car, actually. Obviously quite tricky, certain places which are sort of almost non-corners in other cars are very, very difficult in the 49. We've picked out that Wilson is probably the place where you're going to see a couple of passes come up. Maybe through mistakes and then onto the Bentley Straight. But I also think that there's the opportunity for some passing at the very, very end of the lap into Maurice. It's quite easy to just overshoot some of these heavier braking zones and get a run onto the next straight that way.
We'll watch and see if anybody does make those mistakes. But if we take a look at the championship, after his win, Hisada also took the points lead over Topi Courtiniemi. And we'll watch and see if he can try and fight back here today. Unfortunately, I'm not seeing him in the lineup yet, but maybe that'll change in a moment. Roman Pavlowski, Laus Stolson, and Sebastian Tixier are starting to trail behind a bit, as it seems like the Finn and the Japanese driver are 2 main rivals. What about in the F2 championship so far this season, Christian?
Well, Randy Howe is leading with a very slight lead over Bill Wright with 2 points, but Hoye Niev is only 3 points behind the lead as well. A little bit bigger gap there back to Eugenio Massa in 4th place, 14 points back. And then Matthew Maudsley is 18 points back in 5th.
Now, for the Nations Cup, Finland still leads Japan due to a few more attendees. And, of course, Germany, United States, and United Kingdom are a little bit behind both of them. Very similar to the F1 championship, with those 2 nations being the main ones to watch out for early in the season. Still plenty of time for that to change around. For today's race, I got to take a guess, Christian, that's going to be a large number of laps.
Yes, it's just over a minute a lap. It's about 65 to 67 seconds a lap, so 30 laps here. Open setup, no spare car as usual, and hopefully the majority of the field will still be with us after the first lap.
Indeed. Well, right now they're just heading into the qualifying session, which we'll see in a moment. And this track is perhaps one of the more unique ones, but also maybe more a little bit in line with what this car tended to run. You saw a lot of very simple layouts, even though there were some very twisty ones in there as well. But because it is such a short layout, I'm kind of wondering if traffic might wind up being a bit of a problem today, Christian, because we have 30 plus drivers out there.
Yeah, and we've definitely seen that in the past, and we've even seen it at larger tracks such as Suzuka, where the leaders will catch the tail end of the field before the end of the race. So obviously with such a short lap, I certainly expect it to be a factor here. But I also kind of feel like the lap's short, and there's only really a few places to make major mistakes. So I think the field is actually going to be very, very close today.
Certainly looked like it in some of the warm-up that we witnessed beforehand, with not many braking zones and corners. Obviously, there's not much to separate the drivers. They're on the out laps for most of them right now as we ride on board with Granberg, watching the suspension work coming up and around Coram into that one of those critical last corners that we heard Christian mention, into Murray's, with those big sausage curbs to the inside, and now trying to accelerate away down towards the first corner of Riches. See how he takes this one. It's a swift double apex right-hander. So far, looking good and nice and clean. He's got that done. Then into the heavy braking of Wilson. Turning in a little bit early, it looks like, trying to get the car to steer in. And now on to the Bentley Straight, the backstretch immediately, instead of the infield section that we see modern cars use. And the Scandinavian driver having to really squirm under the power.
Yeah, it looked like he was just a little bit late on the brakes into Wilson, and then that kind of crossed him up through the rest of there. Again, well, actually quite nice apex there, but this next part is actually very, very difficult as well. It's all these kind of tight corners that just sort of appear at the end of these very long straights as you go through the bomb hole that really, really catch this car out. You have to not push the braking zones because the penalty is much greater than the potential gain.
Well, let's see what he's gained over the course of his first flying lap, kicking up just a little bit of dust on his way through Coram, down into the timing line. Is he going to get a 106, 105? What kind of times are we going to be looking at? 107.2 for Granberg, and Claridge 107.208. In fact, the drivers up towards the top are indeed very tightly packed, like Christian predicted. The top three separated by 600ths of a second right now.
And I'm surprised that we haven't had a 106 yet, but definitely you can pretty much bank on Mick Claridge to put down a good lap time. So 107.2 is obviously the benchmark right now.
It is slightly cool out there today, 71 degrees Fahrenheit on track. So I wonder if they're trying to get the tires up to temperature still. 22 Celsius for those on the metric system. This is Tixier, who's certainly been getting faster and faster this season as well, and inserting himself into the equation. I've been waiting for Togo Hisada to cross the line, and he's doing so right now. He was fast in the warm-up, and he's the first one to break through the 107s.
We definitely expected a 106, but Claridge is coming up to finish his second lap. Is he going to get into the 60s? He does not. He hits a 7-0.
Ooh, he was very close, and he does keep himself on the front row. Tixier just 13 thousandths behind Mick Claridge. So we're going to watch Hisada on his second lap around, seeing if he can go even quicker. And to answer one of our questions from before, Topi Kortaniemi is not here today. They will have drop weeks that will be accounted for later in the season, so that will help save him, but this puts him under the gun to try and keep up with Hisada, who we ride on board with right now.
Yeah, this definitely looks like a good opportunity for Hisada to pull out a pretty big championship lead, but it looks like one of the closest races we've had so far just in terms of pure pace, so pretty much anything can really happen here. Obviously Claridge is going to run him hard, but it's definitely good to see other series regulars like Tixier right up at the sharp end of the field today.
A little, actually almost down to the thousandth. Togo Hisada matches his first time. It says he went purple, so it must have been just marginally faster across there. We're waiting on a couple drivers to set times. Quellen and Merrifield are the only two I can see that are able to do one from here. Actually, some drivers might be able to get out and set a time. as Robert Reynolds and Matthew Erdman have not gotten out on the track yet. This is Quellen that we're watching here as he comes around Coram. This will be his first time lap, so he should be able to get both of them in.
Yeah, definitely plenty of time this week to get both laps in. It's not like Suzuka where it was a little bit tricky actually to get the warm-up lap and the 2 time laps in.
So the Virginia's driver down into the line. Looks like a 1:08.7. That will get him into 22nd position. And, Merrifield actually won't get either lap in because he has had both of them deleted due to off tracks. So, unfortunately, we'll have at least 3 drivers that will not start with a time and will be sent to the back of the fields. Seeing if anybody else is able to set a time, and it looks like Quellen is the only one. So, round 4, the second one. And already seeing the drivers talking about the setup and the way the car handles around this track. Obviously, they're pretty open about it in this series. It's a very close-knit community. It's not too guarded about how you set up the car and tend to want to try and bring people in with open arms. Let's see if Quellen can bring in a quicker lap. He's out of Maurice and down the center straight across the line. It's going to be a 1:08.264, half a second faster. Around here, that's a big jump, and that will get him into 16th, appropriate because he's wearing the number 16 today.
Yeah, and the field spread is very, very close for this series. All the way back down to 20th is actually only 1.7 seconds off the pole. So everybody very, very tightly packed this week.
Certainly are. And with our grid now set, let's go through our starting order. Togo Hisada put it on the pole yet again. It'll be McClarridge starting from second next to him, with Sebastian Tixier sticking around from third. Timu Vascolampi holding the Finnish flag for Topi today. He'll start from fourth as Ryan Walker, great qualifying, in fifth. Martin Granberg, P6 for him, followed by Bill Tyler in seventh and John Olsen in eighth. Row 5 has Xavier Sanchez and Ove Trangerade.
And then just missing out of the top 10, Fabian Dan in 11th. Last, Olsen, the driver who finished just inside the top 5 of Suzuka. He's starting 12th. Robert Plumley back there in 13th. Hopefully he can move forwards. Colton Conover alongside him in 14th, with Jean Lehman in 15th. Gary Quaylen, we saw him on his qualifying laps there. He lines up in 16th. Mira Hisaki in 17th. Bill Wright in 18th. Hoye Niev actually pretty far back here for a championship run in 19th, with Aitor Sintez Galindo in 20th.
Jeff Saunders, 21st today, followed by Matthew Maudsley. And then you've got Marco Salgado in 23rd. Randy Huff, 24th for him, followed by Rolly Wallbank in 25th. Last 2 to set times were Andre Bruno and Magnus Einerson in 27th. Robert Reynolds, Matthew Erdman, and Jason Merrifield will round out a 30-car field today, and they are already gridding up. Not much change between qualifying and the race session in terms of temperature, still at 71 Fahrenheit. And will we see drivers be able to get the tires in working ranges pretty quickly here with very few corners and a short lap, or is it going to take a moment before they get the thing underneath them? Should be difficult off the line as well, as we've seen drivers struggle to try and get the power down on this latest tire, with wheel spin being a serious concern. So can Hisada do well on that, or will McClarridge's experience in this car, years of experience at this stage, be able to help him? Getting close to a decade, actually, we've had this car on the iRacing service. And there is a beautiful field of vintage Formula One cars ready to go here at Snetterton Racing Circuit. Will the Japanese driver make it his 3rd win ever in the series, his 2nd this season, or will Claridge add to his numerous tally of victories here in the Lotus 49s? Just a few more moments, and then it looks like we'll be ready to go. Here as the clock ticks down, we just about have everybody on the grid today for round 4 of the Grand Prix Legends Series. And as it comes to 0, that means time is up. And the engines now start to rev as the lights come up. The green flag is out. Oh, it's not a good start at all for Hisada. In fact, he holds up those behind him as they have to scatter to try and get around. Claridge immediately shoots to the lead. Others thankfully avoid running into the back of the Japanese driver, but up at the front, Claridge leads through Riches with Vascalampi and Grandberg now in third.
Yeah, terrible start for Hisada. It looked like he actually pulled away okay, but the second phase just totally, there was none. It's like he completely missed the second shift.
Oh, and that sends him down all the way to fourth place. Not the worst place to be, and there is passing to be had, but he's still fighting side by side with Ryan Walker in the 9 next to him as Sebastian Tixier watches from behind, hoping he can maybe sneak a spot too. Looks like Hisada settles for fifth as they come through Nelson and Brundle, and unfortunately a little bit of contact from behind. Oh, and it spins him off. Unbelievable start.
Hisada.
Doesn't really hit the wall, but he comes to a halt, waiting for everybody to go by. Did he damage the suspension with that contact? Let's watch it one more time. It was a very sudden spin.
Yeah, it definitely looked like he picked up some damage there. Oh, he was on the grass on the outside there, and the curb's pretty rough. We've had a major incident coming out to the front stretch here. Eto Sintes Galindo is one of them. He's parking on the left side of the track.
Looks like Randy Huff involved as well. Trying to see what started this one. And almost looks like cars coming into pit lane slowly and others had to check up or something. I'm trying to... Oh no, there were drivers that tangled with one another coming off of Murray's. And that just caused all kinds of chaos that unfortunately took out yet a few more who are already in pit lane to take repairs. No spare cars in this series, so drivers are just going to have to deal with that. As let's take a look above from Sintes Galindo.
You see a bit of a stack up here into the final corner, and then more cars stacking up at the exit as they're coming into the pit lane, and just unfortunately this front stretch here is actually very, very narrow, and we kind of saw it with the start where nobody was able to go around Hisada.
Yeah, Conover I think involved in that as well, but that sends Nieva, Hisada, Wright, Huff, and Sintes Galindo into pit lane. Hisada for a separate incident, but all with damage to train repair.
He's just gone off at the exit at turn 1 as well.
And has he parked it? Yep, looks like he's going to be done. My goodness. I didn't expect attrition to play a factor in today, but it seems it's already gobbling up plentiful cars.
And it's taken out the more experienced drivers as well. That's really the surprising thing for me here. We're always kind of accustomed to seeing a couple of cars go out, but not normally used to seeing Hisada and Trengerade lose the car.
Yeah, Ove, a multi-time winner in this series, and I'm trying to remember if he actually has taken the championship here in the 49s or not yet, but he's certainly been fighting for it in many seasons. In fact, I do think he does have one under his belt. But the man who has way more and plenty of experience himself is Mick Claridge, who leads the way, but not by much. Vascalampi holds on within about half a second, and Martin Gramberg is still back there in third as well. This has separated them from Tixier, with Sebastian having that contact on lap 1. He's got some ground to make up now.
Yeah, quite unfortunate for Tixier. Obviously, he's stuck behind Hisada on the start, just couldn't really go anywhere and lost quite a few positions, but he's still in the top 5, obviously been disconnected from the lead 3.
Gramberg is one of those faces we usually see over in the Lotus 79, but there's been an influx of those drivers lately as we go through a puff of smoke out of Nelson. I'm not sure what caused that, but it seems to have cleared up, whatever the case. And we talked about the lap traffic. Well, they're already catching up to Billy Bob Wright, and they might have him within the next couple of laps to deal with as we ride on board with Claridge out of the final turn and on to the center straight. Great exit that pulls him a few more tenths away from Vascalampi.
Yeah, and that's really got to be his play from here, is to try and just get out of the draft range and just be able to run his own race. I don't think he's quite out of it yet, but he's definitely getting close.
This car's not exactly known for giving a lot of slipstream, but you get him up to higher speeds, and they aren't super streamlined and certainly give off enough that you can see them chase one another. But these three continue to break away, continue to pull away from Tixier as we have a problem for Jan Lehman in the 17. Once again, off of Riches. This first turn has caught a number of drivers out. He gets it rolling, but he's down to 14th.
Yeah, we've seen quite a few incidents here where drivers are running wide and they're kind of expecting the car is just going to stay underneath them. And, well, this was quite considerably wide. I don't think that was too surprising that went around on him. But, yeah, there you go, he's back. But, yeah, we've seen a couple of drivers just put the outside tyres on the grass and just sort of expect that the car's going to be able to deal with it. And, well, you've got no downforce to help you, so probably not.
Salgado is also having to take a taxi back to the course. He's going to have to wait patiently, though, as everybody streams on by. No opening yet. And no, he's still going to give it a pause and finally returns to the circuit all the way down to 21st. And he was as high as 14th earlier on this lap.
And he's gone around at just before the bomb hole there.
This is Robert Plumley that we're watching. Finally getting ourselves a little bit of a battle on screen after having to catch up with multiple cars slipping around. It's Laust Olsen that you see in front of him. Laust, the Scandinavian, running in 9th position right now, having started this race in 12th. He's gained a few spots from all the attrition we've witnessed. Well, let's see if the number 15 has anything for him. He gained a couple tenths there coming into these final few corners.
Yeah, and everybody in this group is sort of a pretty uniform distance apart right now, so I think it's going to take a couple of mistakes to maybe get some passes as well. Laust a little bit deep into the last corner there.
And Maudsley, the latest one to have some issues, don't need to go to it, just spun off through Brundle, clipped the wall. Looks like he's able to keep going, though. Yeah, no change down into the first corner amongst these three. Let's see who can do better out of Wilson. Heavy braking, still a hairpin, but comparable to its original name, Montreal, to that first corner there, just reversed a little and trying to get the power down. You can see how tough it is for these drivers to really put the throttle to the floor.
Yeah, and there's a little bit of an additional difficulty there because you've got the kind of the 300 layout that the track's sort of built for now. And you've got that sort of transition there that you have to deal with. And it is very subtle, but it can unsettle the car.
Don't doubt that. This car, a little bit of a prima donna over crests and bumps, no doubt. As they come around, way wide, and Plumley is going to have to really gather it back up. Somehow kept it from going into the grass, thankfully, but that puts him way far behind Laust Olsen now by about a second and a half. Fabian Don is up in front of them in 8th, and it looks like Olsen is gaining bit by bit towards him.
He's ever so slightly closing the gap.
About 0.3 quicker last time by across the line. Braking hard once again into Wilson. He sends it deep this time, gets the car to finally squat and turn, and then on to the Bentley Straight. As the 11, whatever he gained, has been given back away. That's put them farther apart, which means our closest battle returns back to the front that we were watching before between Claridge, Vascalampi, and Granberg. But they have not run that much farther away from Tixier. He stopped the bleeding in about 4.5 seconds, it looks like.
Yeah, kind of in between these two battles, we've actually got another one for the back end of the top 5. John Olsen is just holding on to 5th place from Bill Tyler, but he's also got Xavier Sanchez right behind him. So quite a few of these 3-car packs kind of build up now around the track.
Yeah, it certainly looks like it. As we see the leaders come across, looks like Granberg, 3rd in line, just took the fastest lap of the race. So he's doing a good job of keeping these two honest as they come on the Bentley Straight once again. The laps are ticking by relatively quick. We're already on lap 9 of today's event, so a third of the way through. And we're starting to see flashes of the lap traffic. Bill Wright, we're heading over to Bill Tyler now. And you see the mid-pack Coming down the back stretch themselves, John Olsen could be under threat. Bill not close enough to attack for now, but getting closer. In fact, he's mighty on the brakes down through Nelson.
Yeah, I think he just got that inside curb just enough to kind of throw him off a little bit there, but still obviously very, very close. And right behind this, we've got Xavier Sanchez, who's just sort of watching this unfold in front of him at the moment.
Well, based on how many mistakes we've seen, I wouldn't put it past Sanchez to be just waiting patiently, seeing what happens between these two if they do start to fight with one another. Going across, and Granberg with another fastest lap of the race. So he is reeling in those top two. And around turns 1 and 2 through Riches. Not good enough for Bill Tyler this time. Showing from on board the number 7 now. So we get a good view of that suspension. Just doing its thing down the back stretch, under the bridge, entry to the infield, into Brundle, curved braking zone, slowing up even more, and that car looks so good through that sequence of a left-right as we come through the bomb hole now.
Yeah, he's really good on the brakes through Brundle, and obviously that sets him up nicely for the sharp ride after that. And that's really how he's going to have to set up a pass, I think, but it looks very, very difficult for the... Wow, you see really close up again under the brakes. But it's looking quite tricky to actually pull a move. We can see people follow very, very closely, but I haven't really seen anyone go for a big send. Maybe one here into turn 1.
He's going to go for it as Tyler tries for the inside, but Olsen shuts the door by the second apex. It was a valiant effort. Tyler could get a second shot here into Wilson. No, nothing doing there. Well, commentators' curse having a bit of a reverse effect today, as now they're finally trying to make some go at things. Oh, and Ryan Walker, who started much farther up the fields, has at least taken one spot. Jana Lehman lets him go down the front stretch. This is the replay, and this looks to be the way to go. Just getting a better shot off the turn. Yeah, look at that, a little bit of a bobble there from Lehman. And that opens the door for the Scot.
Yeah, obviously not wanting to fight that too much there into turn 1. It is a pretty tricky corner to go side by side through in really any car, let alone one that's moves around as much as the 49 does.
Tyler's got another shot at things. This is where he tried it last time. He's going to look for it again. He's going to try and send it in deep. He gets to the inside, tries not to make contact. Severe trust from John Olsen to cut down. Gave him just enough space. And Bill Tyler is getting closer, but it's getting kind of nervous into that little tightening apex.
Yeah, but John made a mistake there coming out of the hip, and Bill's gonna go for this for sure. If he was this close into turn 1, yep, he's making the move into Brundle.
Should be able to get side by side. Now he's going to outbrake him into the corner. This is where he's been oh so strong, and indeed he is through. Looks a little bit slidey down through Nelson, but job is done. And John Olsen behind already has to worry about Sanchez, who is right on his gearbox.
It definitely looked like John was kind of having none of that turn 1 attempt, but powerless to do much about that one into Brundle.
Oh, and almost a little bit of contact there between the pair of them. I think they got away with it, but that hurt the exit of Sanchez onto the center straight right when he needed all the speed he could get.
Yeah, absolutely. He's going to have to now close this back down.
Almost to the halfway point as we take a look at the leaders once again. Vascalampi still behind Claridge, but Martin Granberg, who at a time was the quickest man on track, seems to have lost some. And Vascalampi almost looked like he was thinking about it, but...
Oh, Claridge, he's gone way too deep.
And off he goes. Out of Nelson, a rare mistake from Mick Claridge. He falls to third. That was a lapped car going by Billy Bob Wright, but Tixier is now right behind him. He could fall outside of the podium. Oh, and we got a coming together, Olsen and Tyler. Oh, no. In the spot where they swapped positions last time, It looks like Olsen was doing a monkey see, monkey do, but it didn't work as well for him. So here's Claridge first.
Yeah, Claridge just way too deep on the brakes. I was really surprised to see this. It's happened yeah, just lost the rear right at turn and definitely too deep. Tried to get the car to turn and it's just too late. And this is what I was talking about with the braking zones, where if you push them, the risk is just so high.
And another one that was in too deep, but unfortunately there was a car there, in this case for John Olsen, almost climbing over as the wheels touch. But that was all she wrote for those two. Oh, and they have multiple comings together after that. So that means that Sanchez gets promoted to 5th, and Fabian Don finds himself P6 with Olsen up to 7th. Tyler winds up 9th. Where did Olsen? Oh, he's in 11th. Oof.
Yeah, it's definitely not worked out well for John there.
Well, Granberg now finds the opportunity instead being for the lead instead of just a second place. He was quick before. Can he turn the wick up again? Claridge is about 5.5 seconds behind. He could still try and chase them back down if he's got the pace, but right now it's looking like these are your two protagonists, Teemu Väskälahti in the 6, Martin Granberg in the 1.
Yeah, Granberg has been very, very quick, obviously, for the kind of first third of the race here. And I think we've talked about in the past with drivers kind of waiting to make a pass, but I don't think you could do that. It looks so difficult to actually pull one off that if you get any kind of opportunity, you just have to go for it.
Absolutely. Unless you get a mistake like we saw out of Mick Claridge, it's really going to be tough to try and make it stick. So through the bomb hole, one of the few places where they get a little bit of elevation change around here, and then into the sweeping corner of Coram and down into the hard braking of Maurice. They've already been catching a few lapped cars here and there, but now they're going to start getting into drivers that are actually battling for position in front of them. That could change the complexion, like we've got here with a few cars fighting for spots. This is Robert Plumley, who is vying with Laust Olsen and Fabian Don. I mentioned they all got bumped up a couple positions because of those tangles.
And this group of drivers has kind of had a pretty quiet race so far. They've sort of just been staying together as a group of 3 and not really fighting each other, but just picking up spots as we have incidents ahead of them. And we've seen that tends to serve drivers quite well in the 49 series.
Yeah, definitely has so far. Oh, looks like Olsen just got one already past Quaylen, so he's not too damaged from his coming together with Bill Tyler. As we watch down the backstretch, someone just poking their nose out a little bit in the background, but no serious attempts in this battle for 6th. Taking a look at Quaylen now as well. Olsen in there. Just got overtaken by John Olsen. Behind him, they've also got Miro Razki. Haven't really talked about him much today, but he's up 5 spots. And they're being approached by Ryan Walker. Remember, Ryan qualified in 5th out there today, so his pace has not gone away after him getting caught up in some of the opening craziness of today's event. And there you can see him getting bigger in the mirrors of Miro Razki now.
Yeah, and obviously we had quite a few drivers in that first couple of laps of wildness, should we say, that kind of got shuffled around in the pack, but they've been able to recover pretty well, I would say. Obviously Ryan Walker's back up. He's not in 5th, but he's near the back end of the top 10.
He's making progress, sending it in deep, doing everything he can to try and gain that ground, and he's very strong off of Wilson. In fact, I don't know that Razki will have much of an answer. No, Walker's lifting a little bit, or maybe even missing a gear. And here we go. He's going to have to wait for another better opportunity, unfortunately. A little bit off the apex there for Razki. Certainly giving opportunities.
Certainly so, but you'd have to be very, very brave to make a move into this final corner. It's obviously got such a long right-hander before it that's pretty grip limited at the best of times.
Good off the corner. Not as good as what we saw off of Wilson. He feels a bit of the slipstream, and he starts to reel him in. He's very good on the brakes, but he's not close enough. Maybe into the Wilson hairpin, potentially. And Olsen giving up positions. Bill Tyler goes through. That is in chase of Robert Plumley. Let's see how this one happened. Starting to set things up on Dan as they come into the corner. Does he just overshoot it a little bit? The car starts to look like it's going around, and he just keeps it from completely spinning, but it allows two drivers by in the blink of an eye, and down to ninth he goes.
Just a little bit of over-rotation on entry.
Thankfully stayed out of the back of Fabian and had the track to return to very quickly, but the damage was done, and now he's going to make that back up. So we are on lap 19 already for our drivers. Our two leaders continuing to pull away from Mick Claridge. Excuse me. Claridge is gaining. It's down to 4.7 seconds, but I'm not sure that he's got enough laps left to actually pull them in for an attack. And even if he gets there, you've already talked about it today, Christian, it's so difficult to pass. He needs something miraculous, I think, for the win today.
Yeah, absolutely. But just looking further back, Hrasky's looks like he's making a move right here. Well, Walker's making a move on Hrasky, sorry. Backs out of it just before he gets to Brundle.
He wanted to. It's taken him a bit to try and get to that number 14, but now that he's here, he's not sure what to do with it, including going a little bit wide through the bomb hole, and he's going to have to gather that back up, which he sends it in deep. Oh, this is a bit erratic from Ryan. Usually he's a pretty clean and consistent driver. I'm surprised to see so many mistakes so quickly. Oh, and Claridge off again. Claridge off, and Sebastian Tixier is now up into third.
Once this race is over, someone please remind me to bookmark this forever, because I don't think I've ever seen Mick Claridge make two mistakes in the same race.
It's been a long time since we've seen it, but this time, though, he had some help. He was trying to lap a car, and Tixier gets into the back of him and turns him, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's just an unfortunate incident there, but Mick actually able to get it straightened back up and not really lose out anything there.
Ooh, and Hrasky and Walker had it coming together. Walker ran out of patience. And
it's a pretty big tangle as well there into turn one. Locked wheels and everything.
It wasn't a big hit, but just, unfortunately, the suspension is not designed to deal with this. The two of them.
I don't think he was going for a move there. I think he was just caught out by Hrasky just kind of being checked up by the car ahead of him into turn one there.
Well, yeah, you can see the damage as he tries to get it going once again. Now, Mick Claridge has caught back up to Sebastian. I thought I heard some chatter over the radio between the pair of them, but I'm trying to make out what exactly is being said, because I'm not sure if... as we got a pass between Olsen and Plumley, maybe. Olsen thought about it and thought better of it. So
both these drivers having a really good race right now, considering where they started.
Not flawless, though, obviously, as they've had their fair share of mistakes. I was going to say, I'm not sure if Sebastian was trying to offer the position back up. It almost sounded like Mick was saying no, no, no. That he didn't want him to just hand it back, that he wanted to fight for it. If I know Mick, he would love to fight for it. As they come into turn one here between Laust Olsen and Plumley. We're going to head on over to Mick Claridge, who's got about 0.4 of a second up to Tixier, so he has run him down somewhat. And he's got about 8 laps to overtake the number 10.
Yeah, and I can totally believe that he would want the fight for the position. Obviously, they were very, very close, and it was just an unfortunate coming together with the passing of the lap car there. So I totally imagine that Mick's more than happy to race this out, especially when there's nothing really going for the pair of them at this point. They're in their own fight. They're too far behind the lead and pretty far ahead of Sanchez in 5th.
Oh, Robert Plumley has decided to make his own circuit today. He seems to have given Nelson a miss. Let's watch this replay. I know they've changed the track a few times, but hopefully he's figured it out by now.
Oh, definitely missed the braking zone there by quite some margin.
I'm sure he's grateful that there is all that pavement there that he can take. And he decides to just kind of cut across the course. He'll probably get a slowdown for that. He did lose the position to Laust Olsen. So that'll give Laust 8th spot. Next on his list is the driver that he was catching up to before, Fabian Don, with about a second and a half to gain there. As we come back to the 7 of Bill Tyler being chased by Fabian. Not too bad of a recovery from Bill. Also getting caught up in that tangle a little bit earlier with John Olsen. He's still up 1 spot into 6th.
Yeah, absolutely. He's definitely come out better out of that tangle. Obviously, John Olsen's back there in 10th, but he himself is still doing quite well, I would say.
So we hop up to our leaders. It's been tantalizingly close for much of this race. Granberg behind Vascalompi. Timu's inherited the lead after we saw a self-spin from Mick Claridge earlier on. And since then, Timu's just been holding Granberg at bay. Martin started this race from 6th. Timu from 4th, taking advantage of not just Mick's problem, but also we got to remember that Togo Hisada was our pole sitter, who had a horrible start off the line. Sometimes in racing, everything just kind of falls into your lap, and you got to grab it with both hands.
Yeah, and we've kind of seen this from Timu before, where he's just very, very measured in how he goes about the race, and kind of doesn't really let anything phase him. And I'm hoping I haven't just given him the commentator's curse there, but he's been under pressure from Martin for pretty much the entire race at this point, and he's doing very well indeed.
And Granberg is no slouch. He's got that number 1 on. That's because he's got a 5K plus I rating underneath him here on the roadside. So he knows what he is doing. So Vascalompi is a cool customer out here at Snetterton. And he's only got to do it for about 5 more laps, about 5.5 laps, to try and take home a victory. Vascalompi is 7th in the points, and I believe his best so far was a 2nd place, I think, from the stats that I'm looking at Brands Hatch. So he was close last time out, and this time he's going to take the win. Starting to see a trend, because Hisada was close at Suzuka and then got his victory at Brands Hatch. So Martin Granberg, you might be up next.
Are we gonna call that one before it's even started then?
Maybe, yeah, I don't know, because Vascalompi just had an error. Granberg could have a shot at things. He's got a great run, but I don't think he's quite close enough. He's going to show himself in the mirrors. He breaks deep into the corner and gets close to Timu. He could still have something later. If he stays this close, there's barely a car's length between them. And once again, now he's starting to get a little bit more antsy to try and make something stick. He's showing himself left and right, just behind the number 6 car.
Yeah, I'm very surprised he didn't try that into turn 1 there. You're not going to get many opportunities, and it's probably the best one he's had so far.
If he stays this close, you got to think he's going to try to send it at some point. Oh, it's a little bit slidey coming through Nelson. And now he's off the apex coming through Brundle. And we've seen that so many times. This is not a car that usually the vision is hindered a lot by getting close behind another car. But it seems like Christian, for some reason, every time they get close in this last portion, cars start losing sight of where they're supposed to turn in.
Yeah, it's a difficult car at the best of times to get around the track, so anything that kind of sort of makes it more difficult is going to produce that. And I think it also draws you into trying to make a move. You see here, it gains so much up to the apex, but if you just keep trying to do that, it's going to bite eventually, especially around this track. And we've seen it with pretty much everyone throughout the race, that it's very, very easy to just overshoot the braking zones a little bit and it has pretty disastrous consequences, really. Obviously, with so Claridge spin out of the lead that way.
You can see the considerate driving from the lapped cars. That was Huff and Saunders just pulling out of the way. In fact, they're able to yell game on and return to the street to play hockey. So, as we had a pass between 15th and 16th. In fact, it's still going side by side into Nelson and Brundle between Yiva. And, contact between himself and Conover. I think Conover may have damage from that now. We didn't see it on screen, but Conover got overtaken at a very unusual spot. Actually, I think he may have been letting lapped cars through is what caused that. That certainly scared me for a moment. This is brave stuff between this pair.
Difficult corner at the best of times to go too wide through.
Just elbowed out a little bit. And I thought him slowing down, he had gotten suspension damage, but no, he was watching the blue flags start to come up on the screen and didn't want to hold them up. And Claridge went off again just now through the first corner. There he is returning to the track out of riches. About the third or fourth different car we've seen go wide, but this one I think he clipped the grass on the way in. Let's watch the replay.
And he was trying to run down Tixier. Yep, you see the left front just grab the grass.
Wow, that was
off for a wild ride.
That was the tiniest blade of grass hitting that thing, and it absolutely snapped.
Well, you think the left front's touching it, but the left rear is much, much wider. So if the left front's touching it, the left rear was definitely on the grass.
So by that point, that was job done. And that puts Tixier ahead by about 6 seconds. But look at this. There's only 1/10 of a second between Granberg and Vascalampi. 2 laps to go now between this pair. And Granberg is showing it in the way that he is driving as well as he spins up the rears. Well, that was looking like we'd have a very good battle at the end. It's not over. He's still within about half a second here.
He's gone deep, though. He's lost even more time now.
Overdriving the car maybe a little bit here. Number 1 getting desperate. And that is a boon to Teemu Vascalampi, who's got himself perhaps the most comfortable gap he's seen the entire race over Martin Granberg. Out of Maurice once again and onto the front stretch. A full 10 seconds ahead of Sebastian Tixier. The white flag comes out for Teemu Vascalampi. 1 more to go to get his maiden win here in Season 1 of 2022.
Definitely a comfortable gap. Obviously the biggest he's probably had in about 29 laps, I think it's fair to say.
No doubt. And out of Wilson onto the back stretch, the Bentley Straight. Under the bridge, it's up to 9/10 of a second. Granberg can only hope for an unforced error from the number 6 from here if he wants to take the win. Or maybe some lap traffic. Nope, looks like they're way beyond any lap traffic reaching them. Nothing doing down into Brundle and Nelson. Nicely through bomb hole. Just Coram and Murray's to go for Teemu Vascalampi. Tucked in all the way around that long right-hander. And as long as he is clean through here, he is good to go to the checkered flag. It is a tidy exit for the Finn as he wins today in round 4 of the Grand Prix Legend Series. Granberg going to follow him home. Tixier, a well-earned 3rd place, which is, interestingly enough, where he started this race. And able to come back for a podium. Mick Claridge wondering what could have been from a front row start to off the podium. And then Xavier Sanchez going to round out our top 5. Last real battle we've got on track. Don and Olsen. But Olsen not able to do much more than 8th place today. Still a net gain of 4 positions, so not too shabby. Could have been a little bit more. And Plumley eventually comes across the line in 9th behind him. Of the cars on the lead lap, we've only got 13 of our 28. Half the cars We're a lap down from the leaders. That is how short the lap is around here, which is going to take us to a quick break. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews, so stick around. Welcome back to Snetterton. Round 4 in the Grand Prix Legends Series sees Teemu Vaskalampi take the win this time. So it has been quite a bit of trading about with 4 different winners in 4 rounds as Martin Granberg followed him home from 6th on the grid to a well-earned 2nd, pressuring Teemu the whole way. Sebastian Tixier was a bit of ways behind, but he finished exactly where he started and held off Mick Claridge, who looked like he was going to try and charge back through, but multiple mistakes today and a little bit of contact at one point sent Mick down to 4th as Xavier Sanchez was P5 and Bill Tyler was 6th. Fabian Don, P7 for him, as Laust Olsen up 4 spots to 8th, and you've got Robert Plumley up to 9th and John Olsen slipping backwards into 10th.
Yeah, Gary Quaylen with a pretty good run there from 16th up to 11th. Jan Lehman kind of followed him. He comes home in 12th. Ryan Walker started in the top 5, but unfortunately had an early incident, fell back down. Able to come home as last car on the lead lap in 13th, though. Jeff Saunders there in 14th. Jorge Neva in 15th. Rauli Wallbank in 16th with Marco Antonio Lopez Salgado in 17th. Colin Conover, driver we saw featured near the front of the field, unfortunately ends up in 18th with Andres Bruno in 19th and Matthew Maudsley, the last driver, 1 lap down in 20th.
Then you've got Billy Bob Wright 2 laps down in 21st, Magnus Enerson in at 22nd, and you get into the DNFs already here today with many drivers having trouble. Some of the big names include Ove Trangerade and Togo Hisada. Unfortunately, not seeing the checkered flag. But the man that got there first was Teemu Vaskalampi, getting his maiden win of the season. And Teemu, congratulations. Fell in your lap a little bit, inheriting the lead, but have to say, that was some incredible dealing with the pressure of Martin Granberg, the way he was breathing down your neck all the way to the end.
Yeah, it was quite tough. And of course, the start, my qualifier wasn't best possible, but I think Togo had a very bad start and someone got stuck behind him. So it was 3 at first, and I knew that this is not about who is fastest. It's just about who can drive without mistakes. And I was just not focusing on that, not pushing Supercilia in the bridge corner. I was just trying to take it as safe as possible, and that's where Mick spun finally. And that's just trying to keep my head calm.
It's understandable. Sometimes that's easier said than done, but this is a track that doesn't always seem to be the most popular amongst drivers, but both Christian and I have commented today that we've been pleasantly surprised how fun it is with this car. What's your take now that you've run a race in this layout here at Snetterton?
I actually liked Snetterton before, but I don't quite like it with this car. It's somehow it doesn't suit it very well. I can't really say what it is, but it doesn't feel very good to me.
It looked like it was a handful for a lot of people, but next race is going to be another very short lap and a very narrow track with Summit Point. Can you come back and become our first repeat winner this season?
I don't know. Like, this was kind of surprise to win here. There was a lot of people with very similar pace, maybe 7, 8. Any one of them could have won, so it was just about luck and to keep it clean. But next week, Summit Point, I don't know. I have no idea how this car is there. So we will see. Not my favorite track for sure.
All right. Well, hopefully we get something a little bit more to your taste soon. Is there anybody you want to give a shout out to for the win today?
Just this little 49 community. These small series communities are just great. And you guys for broadcasting.
Well, thank you very much. That was Timo Väskalapi, our winner here today at Snetterton. And Christian has caught up with Martin Granberg, who was close, but not close enough.
Martin, it looked like a pretty good race there. Obviously, you kind of cemented your position inside the top 3 from the very first lap, but just not quite able to pull a move on Timo there. But you had quite a few chances right at the end of the race. How difficult was it to kind of make passes today?
Not hearing anything from Martin here. Let's see if we can get his mic working. Martin, it is Joe Peak here in the booth. It was a fun one to watch today. How was it out on track? Might have to pass up on Martin. In the meantime, Christian also has Sebastian Tixier from third place with him as well. Let's see what it was like for the Club Asia driver.
Sebastian, off the start, you kind of were stuck a little bit there behind Togo Hisada. Obviously made a bad start from the pole start, but able to kind of just sort of make your way through the field as the race went on. Obviously, there's a couple of drivers ahead of you. Claridge obviously went off. You had a good battle with him towards the end of the race, but you must be really happy with the top 3.
Yeah, it was really unexpected. Togo, I managed to avoid him at the start. I have to jump on the brake, and with the lag from Asia, I was really afraid to touch him. And actually, it happened in the turn after the back straight. I don't know the name, the one before the bump hole. So I touched him there, and then he spun in the grass, I think, in the dirt on the left. And well, after that I was like 4th and was faster than the guy behind me, and I was happy to be in my little bubble, like I'm going to finish this 4th place. I'm happy with that. And then after a while, suddenly I have the ridge in front of me, and he made some mistakes. I did some mistakes too. At some point I think I touched him, or it was netcode, and I wanted to re-race, but he said to go on, and I went on with some pressure behind me and managed to not make any more mistakes and finish on the podium, so I'm very happy.
Yeah, well, it kind of all started off with a really good qualifying. Obviously started in 3rd, and Yeah, at the start weren't really able to make much of it, obviously having to wait behind Togo. But yeah, as you say, you cemented yourself in fourth, and it was quite quiet for the majority of the race until Mick decided he was going to join you in that battle for third. So it was definitely a good one to watch for us. And yeah, congratulations on the top three. It's really good to actually see you up the very, very front of the field. And next week we got Summit Point. Do you think that you're going to be able to repeat at Summit Point? It's sort of similar, but not really.
I have to remember which one is the midpoint. Is it the Summit Point? I don't remember which one it is. Is it the one with only one layout?
It has multiple, but there's pretty much only one that's raced consistently. It's one of the rookie tracks. If you raced it in MX-5s, you'll remember it.
So yes, the second layout is actually a total different layout.
Yes,
right?
yes, that's the one. Yeah.
So yeah, I like Summit Point. I really like this track. I remember after the third sector, there's a lot of small turns, so it's going to be tricky with the Lotus. The gear setup will be crucial there, I think. But yeah, I like this track, so it's going to be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Snetterton was pretty surprising to everybody, and especially for us. It was a really, really good race. Everybody was really, really tightly packed on pace, so it was a great one to watch for us. Once again, congratulations on the third place. And before we let you go, is there anybody that you'd like to give a shout out to?
A lot of people actually. So I will start with chronologically by thanking Topic, Michel Dudognan, and Mick Laresh to give me the wheel. I mean, when I'm watching them, that's them that I wanted to race with. And thanks Mick and Topi for the setups. And thanks to my team, Racecraft, Premier Racing Team, and our sponsor, Racecraft Simulation, and Advanced Machine Performance.
Thank you for coming in and chatting with us today. And again, congratulations on the third place finish.
Thank you.
That's going to take us to fourth place finisher Mick Claridge, who had a bit of a rough day today, it seemed. Mick, I know you've been on slightly different sim rigs lately. Is that what you chalk it up to mainly, or is it rustiness, or what put you off the good foot today?
Oh, rustiness, mate. There's a rust hole. It's a great big rust hole. Yeah, no, oh mate, it was Christian's fault. He changed the car. You know, done all this stuff behind my back.
I knew it. I just knew. I was watching all these incidents, and I was like, man, I'm gonna get so many messages after this. I just know it.
Excuses. Well, get out the Bondo because you got some work to do. Even still, it doesn't seem like you've lost it too much. You plopped it onto the front row, and for a good chunk of the race, you were leading. What was causing so much difficulty? To be fair, you were not the only one that found this track tough, and we even heard from the winner, Timu, say that it didn't feel like it suited the car. What do you feel like made today so rough for so many drivers?
Well, I would want to say that I sort of came in cold and don't really know the car that well and been off for 3 months. But Joe, mate, I practiced like anything this week. I must have done 500 or 600 laps, and I didn't really get a handle on the setup, and I borrowed some setups and didn't really like them. It just seems to me this track is just so tough. You're braking and turning a lot of the time. So I really had to change my driving style. Normally I brake, turn in and get on the gas straight away, and then come off. But now you have to trail brake the car through the whole sort of section, down the back end of that back straight, the left and the right. You're on the brake all the way through that section now, and then trying to get on the power. So it really is tough. And lap times are so close because it's such a short track. So I think people are sort of getting under pressure. I was under pressure because, I've never raced Timu before, and I wasn't actually expecting to be leading. I thought Togo would be disappearing into the distance, he's so quick. And that was the plan, just sort of stay in second and see if I could keep up with him. And when I realised I was in the lead, the legs start shaking and the arms start shaking. You know the story, Joe.
I wouldn't think you'd get nervous at leading the race.
Oh man, Do you know what? I think it was just because I've never raced Timu before, and it was just I literally looked behind and I just thought, oh, Timu's there. I've seen him in the 79. I don't know what's going on now. And when I lost it going down the back straight, I actually said to myself, now don't mess this up, Mick. I said it out loud, and still messed it up. And I just closed my eyes waiting for a hit from Timu, but he did well. I don't even know what he did to miss me, but fair play to him. But well done on the car, Christian.
Oh, thank you. I was very, very surprised to see you go deep into that corner, and then to see 2 more afterwards. I'm telling you, man, I'm bookmarking this race because I don't think I've ever seen three incidents from you in the same while.
Yeah, but no, it was good fun. It's really good to be back. So I did enjoy it, even though I got 4th or whatever it was. Yeah, I did enjoy it.
Well, any quick shouts before we let you go, Mick?
The usual guys, the Mackenzie boys are watching, so yeah, shout out to those, and you guys, you put on a great show. We'll watch it back in a minute.
That was Mick Claridge, 4th today, unfortunately, but shaking the rust off, it sounds like, as we're going to close out. And, of course, before we go, we also want to thank the Lotus 49 community for bringing us back for another season of great coverage. And also want to thank the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. Additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Check out her Bandcamp for more great work. And thanks to the team today, Christian, Rob, and Dougie. You can find more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media. Also, check out our merchandise store at gsrc.storeenvy.com. We keep a link in the description below. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment. Next race, as we mentioned, Summit Point, another narrow, tight, twisty track, Sunday, January 15th at 8:30 a.m. Eastern. But we have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out. Mark them down on your calendar. Up next, it is the Camel GT Series at the Nürburgring. It's the 24-hour layout at noon Eastern. Don't miss that one. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.